Hey everyone, happy Friday and happy Fridays with Fidelman. I'm Cheryl Fidelman, life coach, trauma healer, and writer. And today's topic on Fridays with Fidelman is people pleasing versus ego pleasing. So I'm psyched to be back. I'm doing Fridays with Fidelman a little less frequently during the summer. I'll be back to every Friday when the summer's over. So I missed you guys. It's been 2 weeks. So people pleasing versus ego pleasing. So the reason why I'm bringing up people pleasing is because it's a big symptom, if you will, of codependence. And in my trauma healing, I focus on codependence because I believe that codependence is the most obvious way that we demonstrate our unhealed trauma in relationship. So when it comes to people pleasing, it can be such an illusion for a lot of us who are people pleasers because we think, well, I actually receive joy from pleasing people. I actually experience being fulfilled. It's a way that I love people is that I provide what it is that I think that they need, and sometimes I even anticipate their needs. And sometimes I even cover things that might not even need covering for people, right? So it's like an act of consistently just going, I got it, I'll take care of that, and sometimes even over-providing things that, number one, are not even necessary to provide in the context of a relationship, and also providing that which you might not even have the means to provide, but you'll figure it out, right? People pleasing also shows up as just perpetual agreement. Just agreeing and altering your opinion, altering your point of view based on somebody else's point of view in order to simply agree. So, and agreement and reflecting somebody else's point of view. You know, there's a healthy level of agreement, but then there's also agreement that is maybe overly codependent and overly people-pleasing when you actually don't even consider your own point of view. You just consider the other person's point of view. Or you consider your point of view, and then you say, oh, actually, no, my point of view is wrong. Your point of view is better or more right than mine. When sometimes legitimately that could be the case, but for people pleasers, there's so much more of an effort to agree in order to avoid confrontation, in order to avoid having an existence in the relationship, in order to become in order to honor our invisibility, honor our people pleasing. We simply agree. People pleasing is also not unlike a search for validation, right? So I'm going to agree with you because I then get validated if I agree with you. If I have my own opinion and I express my own opinion and I stand for my own opinion, I might not get validated from you. So when I agree with you, when I provide things for you, when I anticipate your needs, these are all ways in which I can get validated. And so the title of this video is People Pleasing versus Ego Pleasing. So everything that I've just stated, from overly agreeing to overly providing, those I would say are all ego pleasing acts. And when I say ego, just to really simplify it, I'm going to say that which protects us. So we are actually pleasing our inner protector, masking it as people pleasing. We're pleasing our inner protector and masking it as people pleasing. So this may beg the question, well, how do I know if I'm people pleasing from a place where I really just want to take care of somebody, I really want to provide something, or actually really agree, or I really enjoy just being the provider, or being the server, or being the one who's of service? How can I tell if I'm doing it actually from my pure enjoyment, or if I'm doing it as an act of inner protection? Here's what I'm going to suggest. Anytime there's a people-pleasing act and or ego-pleasing act, are you connected with yourself? Because we will forfeit connection with ourselves in order to please. So if you are providing, being supportive, being in service of, contributing as an act of feeling connected with yourself, and if you're connected with yourself, then actually nothing in return is needed, because you have provided, and you've given of yourself, and you've filled yourself up at the same time, because the act of providing is actually filling you up, right? It's actually being of service to yourself to be of service. So if you are in service, overly pleasing, overly agreeing, and as you're doing it, you're actually not in connection with yourself. You're actually not being in service to yourself. You're simply being in service to the other person, validating you. You're being in service to keeping the peace. You're being in service to not ruffling on any feathers. You're being in service to not looking like you need help. You're being in service to your ego, looking like you have it all together and you can handle it. That which is protecting you, right? So sometimes we just want to look like we can handle it, because when we were kids, we actually had to handle it. You actually had to not ask for help. This is for some of us. We weren't trained to ask for help. We were trained to go, yeah, I'm cool, I'm fine. Meanwhile, on the inside, there's a tornado happening. So our outside doesn't match the inside. So that's another way, that's another example of ego-pleasing or protecting ourselves by providing. Providing is an act of protecting ourselves. When you're providing and your agreement isn't an act of protecting yourself, that's an actual act of being in relationship with self. That being of service is of service to yourself as well. And not of service to yourself protecting you. It's in service to love, harmony, and peace within you. And that means being willing to lose love, harmony, and peace with another person. Okay? So sometimes we'll agree or we'll be of service so that we're just keeping the peace. Nobody gets upset. But if it's in harmony and in of service to ourselves, then we are not afraid of the confrontation or somebody disagreeing with us or somebody questioning us, because we can handle that. There's peace over here. We can handle whatever ripples happen from speaking up or from asking or from saying no. No, I'm not available to do that thing. And whatever happens with the other person, the other party, or the team of people is on some level their issue, right? We then don't have to kick into people-pleasing by saying no, putting up a boundary, and then we have to please take care of them because of their reaction to our no. So people-pleasing becomes sort of a domino effect, right? Sometimes it's not just one act. It's an act, and then another act, and another act, and another act, or then you say no, and you go, forget my no, because I can't handle you being upset because of the thing that I said, so forget me, and forget, right? So I think I stated my point about the distinction between people-pleasing and ego-pleasing, because really, we for those of us who are codependents in our codependence recovery, we have to make sure that the people-pleasing is over here. This is the person to be pleased, okay? And not in like some overly selfish way where you're actually not available to do anything for everybody else, but we just have to check in over here first. Does this work for me? Am I going to need or want something once I do this thing? We have to slow it down. We have to slow our acts of service and our people-pleasing down, because we can get addicted to the cycle of protection and silence and service and exhaustion that comes from the overly people-pleasing and the repression that can happen in a relationship when it's full of agreement. Yeah, sure, yeah, sure, yeah, sure. Everything's a yeah, sure, fine, yeah, sure, fine, yeah, sure, fine. Where can somebody exist in their magnificence and their multidimensionalness if they're always a yeah, sure, fine? Nobody's a yeah, sure, fine all the time. But they are if they're looking to just keep the peace, right? And we're talking about the external peace. Because those of us who are codependent, we need external peace in order to have internal peace. As we're moving along in our healing and our recovery, we can have internal peace regardless of the level of peace or lack thereof outside of us. It's like that analogy that I used of the thermostat and the thermometer. A long time ago I used that. I'm sorry, I don't remember what for. Oh, my microphone wasn't plugged in. I hope you could hear me this whole time. The thermostat takes the temperature outside, right? Is that right? Do I have that right? The thermostat takes the temperature. It adjusts itself to the temperature. The thermometer takes the temperature. All right, I just threw in a puzzle piece at the end there. It's going to take too much mental work for me to figure out right now, but I'll come back to that in a later video if it wasn't clear enough right now, because I think that's a great analogy between inside of codependence and people pleasing when it comes to the thermostat and thermometer, and actually bringing your own temperature or taking the temperature outside and then going, that's how I feel. I'm going to check into the energy, and then I'm going to be able to see how I feel instead of just bringing your own feeling and experience. Okay. Thanks for listening to my thoughts, theories, and rants, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy healing. Please feel free to comment, subscribe, like, all of the fancy YouTube things. Post any comments, any thoughts on how the difference between people-pleasing versus ego-pleasing landed for you in this video. And if you'd like any further support in your codependence and trauma healing recovery, please feel free to book a free session. And we'll see if we're a match for your trauma healing journey. All right, everybody, happy healing. You are awesome, and life is now.